Train your mind to think in English. Many people try to learn English by memorizing grammar rules, translating sentences, and studying textbooks for many hours. But even after years of learning, they still feel nervous when speaking or thinking in English. The main reason is simple: their brain is not trained to think in English. Language learning is not only about knowledge. It is about training the mind. Just like muscles become strong with regular exercise, the brain becomes comfortable with English through constant exposure and practice. Many learners believe that they can learn English only by studying grammar or remembering difficult vocabulary. This is a wrong approach. Language is not a subject to memorize, it is a skill to experience. The brain learns language naturally when it hears and sees it regularly. If a person surrounds himself with English every day, the brain slowly begins to adapt. Listening to English conversations, watching English videos, reading simple English texts, and speaking small sentences daily helps the brain become familiar with the language. When the mind becomes surrounded by English, it starts building a natural thinking system. Words come faster, sentences form more easily, and confidence increases. This process is called creating an English environment for the brain. Instead of forcing the brain to translate from the native language, the learner should train the mind to think directly in English. This change is very powerful. It makes communication smoother and more natural. Learning English is not about talent or intelligence. It is about daily mental training. When a person builds strong English thinking habits and surrounds the mind with English regularly, the brain gradually becomes comfortable with the language. In simple words, if you train your mind correctly, English will slowly become a natural part of your thinking process. Point 1. Surround your mind with English. The first and most powerful step to train your mind for English is to surround your brain with the English language every day. Language learning works best when the brain receives continuous exposure. If your mind hears English regularly, it slowly begins to understand patterns, sounds, and sentence structures. Many learners study English for years but still struggle to speak. The reason is that they only study English for a short time during the day, such as reading a grammar book for 30 minutes. After that, their mind returns to their native language for the rest of the day. In this situation, the brain never becomes comfortable with English. To train the mind properly, English should become a daily environment, not just a school subject. There are many simple ways to create an English environment. You can listen to English podcasts while walking, watch English videos on educational topics, read short English articles, or follow English learning pages. Even if you do not understand every word, your brain still learns from the sound and structure of the language. Listening is especially powerful because it trains the brain naturally. Children learn their first language mainly by listening for many years before speaking fluently. The same principle works for English learners. Another useful habit is changing the language settings on your phone to English. Every time you use your phone, your brain will see English words like settings, messages, notifications, and gallery. These small exposures help the brain become familiar with everyday vocabulary. Reading simple English content daily is also helpful. Short stories, motivational articles, or news written in simple language can train the mind gradually. The goal is not to understand everything perfectly but to allow the brain to experience English regularly. Example. Consider a student named Arjun. For many years he studied English grammar but still could not speak confidently. One day he decided to change his learning method. Instead of focusing only on grammar, he surrounded himself with English. Every morning he listened to a 20-minute English podcast. During lunch he read a short English article. In the evening he watched English interviews or documentaries. He also changed his phone language to English. After 3 months, something interesting happened. Arjun noticed that he started understanding English faster. Sometimes simple English sentences appeared automatically in his mind. His brain slowly adapted to the language. This example shows an important truth. When the mind is surrounded by English, it naturally becomes comfortable with it. Therefore, if you want to train your mind for English, the first rule is simple. Create an English environment around your brain every day. Point 2. Build the habit of thinking in English. After surrounding your mind with English, the next important step is to build the habit of thinking in English. Many learners understand English when they read or listen, but when they want to speak, they first think in their native language and then translate into English. This process makes speaking slow and confusing. If you want to train your mind properly, you must reduce translation and start thinking directly in English. Thinking in English does not mean using complex vocabulary or long sentences. In the beginning, your thoughts can be very simple. Short sentences are enough to train the brain. For example, instead of thinking in your native language, I am feeling hungry. I should eat something. You can think directly in English. I am hungry. I will eat now. These small mental sentences train the brain to operate in English. A very effective technique is describing your daily actions in English inside your mind. When you wake up in the morning, you can think simple sentences like, Today is a new day. I will start my work. I need to prepare breakfast. When you are walking somewhere, you can observe your surroundings and think in English. The weather is nice today. There are many people on the road. I need to reach the library. These thoughts may look simple, but they are extremely powerful for training the brain. Another useful habit is asking yourself questions in English and answering them in English. For example, what should I do today? I need to study English for 1 hour. Why is learning English important for me? It helps me communicate with more people. This mental conversation strengthens your English thinking ability. At the beginning, your brain may resist this process because it is used to thinking in your native language. But with daily practice, the brain slowly adapts and begins forming English thoughts automatically. Example. Consider a learner named Ria. She understood English grammar well but struggled when speaking. Her teacher suggested a simple exercise: think in English for 10 minutes every day. At first, Ria found it difficult. She could only think very small sentences such as I am tired or I need water. But she continued practicing every day. After several weeks, her thoughts became longer and more natural. Instead of translating, her brain started forming English ideas directly. One day she noticed something surprising. During a conversation with a friend, she responded in English without translating first. The words came naturally. This change happened because she trained her mind to think in English regularly. Therefore, if you want to improve your English naturally, start training your brain to think in English every day. Small mental sentences can create a powerful change in your language ability. Point 3. Train your brain through deep listening. Listening is one of the most powerful ways to train the brain for English. Many learners focus mainly on reading and grammar, but they ignore listening practice. However, the brain learns language naturally through hearing patterns, sounds, and rhythm. When you listen to English regularly, your brain begins to recognize how words connect in sentences. You start understanding pronunciation, tone, and natural expressions. This process slowly builds a strong mental structure for the language. Deep listening means listening carefully and consistently, not just hearing English in the background. The goal is to train the brain to become familiar with how English sounds in real communication. A good method is to listen to short English content every day. Podcasts, interviews, educational videos, documentaries, and speeches are very useful. Choose content that uses clear and simple English. At the beginning, you may not understand everything. This is completely normal. The brain is still learning to recognize sounds and vocabulary. Even if you understand only 40 to 50%, your brain is still improving. A helpful technique is repeated listening. Instead of listening to many different materials every day, listen to the same audio several times. Each time you listen again, your brain catches more words and expressions. Another useful habit is shadow listening. In this method, you listen to a sentence and repeat it immediately. This helps the brain connect listening and speaking together. It also improves pronunciation and fluency. For example, if a speaker says, "Learning a new language requires patience and daily practice," you pause the audio and repeat the sentence. By doing this many times, the brain remembers the structure naturally. Listening also improves thinking speed. When the brain becomes used to hearing English sounds, it processes the language faster during conversations. Example. Consider a learner named Seema. He spent many years studying English grammar but still struggled to understand native speakers. Conversations felt too fast for him. One day he decided to focus mainly on listening. Every morning he listened to a 15-minute English podcast while walking. In the evening he watched English interviews with subtitles. At first, Seema understood very little. Many words sounded unclear, but he continued listening every day. After 2 months, he noticed a big improvement. His brain started recognizing common phrases automatically. When people spoke English, he understood more quickly than before. His pronunciation also improved because he repeated many sentences from the podcasts. This experience taught Seema an important lesson. The brain learns language through listening exposure. Therefore, if you want to train your mind for English, make deep listening a daily habit. Consistent listening slowly builds natural understanding, improves pronunciation, and prepares the brain for fluent communication. Point 4. Speak small sentences every day to activate the brain. Listening and thinking are very important for learning English, but the brain becomes truly strong when you start speaking regularly. Speaking activates the language system in the brain and helps convert knowledge into real communication ability. Many learners hesitate to speak English because they are afraid of making mistakes. They believe they must learn perfect grammar before speaking. This belief slows down progress because language improves through practice, not perfection. To train your mind effectively, start speaking small and simple sentences every day. You do not need long conversations or difficult vocabulary. Even basic sentences are enough to activate the brain. For example, you can speak simple statements such as, I am studying English today. I want to improve my communication. This book is interesting. I will practice speaking today. These small sentences may look very basic, but they help the brain build confidence and familiarity with English. One useful technique is self-speaking practice. This means speaking English to yourself when you are alone. You can describe your actions, your plans, or your daily experiences. For example, when you are preparing food, you can say, I am making tea. The water is boiling. I will add sugar. This simple exercise trains your brain to connect thoughts and speech in English. Another helpful method is mirror speaking practice. Stand in front of a mirror and speak English for a few minutes. Talk about your day, your goals, or your opinions. Watching yourself speak helps build confidence and improves pronunciation. Recording your voice is also a powerful exercise. When you record yourself speaking and listen to it later, you notice mistakes and areas for improvement. This process helps you become more aware of your speaking ability. At the beginning, speaking may feel slow and uncomfortable. Your brain may struggle to find the right words. This is a normal part of learning. With daily practice, your brain gradually becomes faster and more confident. Example. Consider a learner named Aman. He understood English well while reading and listening, but he rarely spoke it. Because of this, he felt nervous whenever he tried to speak. One day he decided to change his routine. Every night he spent 10 minutes speaking English to himself. He talked about his daily activities, his studies, and his future plans. At first his sentences were very simple and sometimes incorrect. But he continued practicing every day without worrying about mistakes. After several weeks, Aman noticed an important improvement. Speaking English became easier and more natural. His brain started forming sentences faster than before. Later, when he spoke with other people, he felt more confident because he had already trained his brain through daily speaking practice. This example shows an important principle. Speaking regularly activates the brain and builds fluency. Therefore, if you want to train your mind for English, practice speaking small sentences every day. Consistent speaking strengthens confidence and transforms passive knowledge into active language ability. Point 5. Strengthen your brain through daily reading. Reading is another powerful way to train the brain for English. When you read regularly, your mind becomes familiar with vocabulary, sentence structure, and the natural flow of the language. Reading also helps the brain recognize patterns, which improves both writing and speaking ability. Many learners think reading must involve difficult books or complex literature. This idea often discourages beginners. In reality, the best way to train the brain is to start with simple and clear English content. Short articles, motivational stories, simple news reports, and beginner-level books are excellent for daily reading practice. These materials allow the brain to understand ideas without feeling overwhelmed. When you read daily, the brain slowly stores words and expressions in long-term memory. Over time, you start recognizing common phrases such as, in the long run, as a result. On the other hand, one important reason is, seeing these phrases many times helps the brain remember them naturally. Later, you may begin using them in your own speaking and writing. A very useful technique is active reading. Instead of reading quickly, take a moment to notice new words and sentence patterns. If you find an interesting sentence, Read it again and try to understand how it is formed. For example, consider the sentence. Consistent practice gradually builds strong communication skills. You can observe how the sentence is structured and remember the pattern. This helps your brain learn how ideas are expressed in English. Another effective habit is reading aloud. When you read aloud, you activate 3 learning processes at the same time: seeing the words, hearing the sounds, and speaking the sentences. This strengthens the connection inside the brain and improves pronunciation. Reading also increases your ability to think in English. When you read regularly, your brain becomes comfortable processing ideas directly in English without translation. To build this habit, try to read at least 15 to 20 minutes every day. Consistency is more important than the amount of material. Even small daily reading sessions can produce strong results over time. Example: consider a learner named Neha. She wanted to improve her English, but she found grammar exercises boring and difficult. Instead of focusing only on grammar, she decided to read simple English articles every day. At first, she read short motivational articles and beginner stories. She did not worry if she did not understand every word. Her goal was simply to expose her brain to English regularly. After 2 months, Neha noticed something interesting. Many words and phrases started appearing in her mind automatically while speaking. Her vocabulary increased naturally without memorizing long lists of words. Her writing also improved because she had seen many correct sentence structures while reading. This experience showed Neha that daily reading quietly trains the brain and builds strong language skills over time. Therefore, if you want to strengthen your mind for English, develop the habit of reading simple English content every day. Regular reading slowly expands vocabulary, improves understanding, and helps the brain think more naturally in English. Point 6. Build a strong English learning routine for the brain. The final step to train your mind for English is to build a consistent daily learning routine. The brain learns languages best through regular repetition and steady practice. If learning happens only once in a while, the brain forgets quickly. But when practice becomes part of daily life, the brain gradually becomes stronger and more comfortable with English. Many learners feel motivated for a few days and then stop practicing. This breaks the learning process. Language learning is similar to physical exercise. If someone goes to the gym only once a week, their muscles will not grow. But if they exercise every day, even for a short time, their body becomes stronger. The same principle applies to English learning. A small, daily routine is much more powerful than long but irregular study sessions. A balanced English routine should include several activities that train different parts of the brain. For example, listening, to improve understanding of spoken English. Reading, to expand vocabulary and sentence structure. Speaking, to build confidence and fluency. Thinking in English, to reduce translation. When these activities become daily habits, the brain gradually adapts to English as a natural communication system. You do not need many hours every day. Even 45 to 60 minutes of focused practice can create strong progress. The key factor is consistency. A simple daily routine may look like this. Morning, 15 minutes. Listen to an English podcast or motivational speech. Afternoon, 15 minutes. Read a short English article or story. Evening, 10 to 15 minutes. Speak English sentences about your day. Night, 10 minutes. Think in English and review new words or ideas. This routine trains the brain in multiple ways and helps maintain continuous exposure to the language. Another important part of the routine is patience. Language learning takes time. The brain needs repeated exposure before it becomes comfortable with new patterns. Instead of worrying about quick results, focus on building a steady habit. Over time, the brain will adapt naturally. Example: consider a learner named Rahul. He wanted to improve his English quickly, so he studied grammar for several hours one day. After that, he stopped practicing for many days because he felt tired and discouraged. Later, he decided to change his approach. Instead of studying for long hours occasionally, he created a simple daily routine. Every morning he listened to English audio for 15 minutes. In the afternoon he read a short article. At night he spoke English sentences about his day. At first, the progress seemed slow. But after 3 months, Rahul noticed a big difference. He understood English faster, spoke more confidently, and formed sentences more naturally. The improvement happened because his brain received daily training and repetition. This example shows an important truth. Consistency trains the brain more effectively than intensity. Therefore, if you want to build strong English thinking habits, create a simple routine and follow it every day. With patience and regular practice, your brain will gradually become comfortable using English naturally.